Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Jane, and I want to beat Doom 3. I have no idea how close I actually am to the ending. So, that's issue. Okay. I've gone back a little ways, but I've decided to record anyway. For exactly the reason that I'm recording any of this in the first place, which is shits and giggles. Fuck. I'm getting annihilated. This dude, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Asshole. Shit. I didn't do a quack. I did a quick save. Come on. Where are you? Where am I? What am I doing? Excuse me. Okay, good. They're not behind me. They sound like they're behind me, but they're not. They're right here. Gotcha, bitch! Oh, shit! Holy crap, okay. Sweet. Good. Nailed it. Snailed it. Snailed it. Okay. I'm fighting on my normal instincts just, as an experiment. Again, because I don't care about the separation between my work and the process of making it. I've been starting to edit sort of highlight compilations, and the irony being that this video might come out after those, which is, it might be kind of funny that I'm talking about it while I'm still working on it, but, and so, I don't know. I'm still kind of not sure if I want to make... I'm not really sure... Oh, fuck. I shouldn't have reloaded. I'm not sure if I want to do, like, a highlight reel. Like, I've basically been editing, like, a highlight reel. But I don't know. I'm kind of interested, like, maybe of doing, like, a walkthrough. But I feel like maybe you have to already know what you're doing to do a walkthrough, and I might have to like play through it again, which is a little bit. I don't want to do that. So, okay, I got hand grenade. Oh fuck! There you are. That's right. Fireproof glass. Alright. Oh yes, they both, oh yes, we both, oh yes, we both. Reach for the gun, oh yes, we both reach for the gun, Anyway. I'm not a total Broadway nerd, or like really like a theater nerd. Like, I don't really have that much like... like, basically my interest in theater has never really been like as a fan, but more as a contributor. More as, like, it's just a good medium. And so, like, yeah, I don't really care about the particular aesthetics of Broadway over anything else, you know? I mean, I live in LA, so obviously my standards, oh god, my standards for theater are all over the place. Or basically, I just kind of see it, you know, I write plays. I see it as, like, a medium, you know? So, when I'm writing, because I'm unpublished and unproduced as well, at this point, I have to consider that, like, my plays have to be able to be performed with nothing. Like I could write, you know, I can write things that require a lot of props or sets, but ultimately, what's most effective is something that, like, 4 people could perform in the park, you know? If a group had nothing, could they perform it? That's sort of my, at this point, like, part of my goal. And so, actually, I've been writing, well, anyway. Well, yeah. I'm writing them as radio plays. Stay tuned for that. 2020. January 2020. Okay. yes, they both, oh yes, they both, oh yes, they both reach for. But anyway, I love Chicago. The reason I went on that little diatribe is because I do enjoy Broadway. It's one of these things I like to do. It's oops, sorry. My dad and I have done a couple times, a few times in my life, and the last time we did it 2 years ago, it was very fun. And I saw Chicago on Broadway, and it was awesome. It was especially funny because, like, it was the only... Because, so, what happened was, this was a trip my dad was going to take with my niece, but she couldn't do it, ultimately, like, for spring break. And so I went instead, and so the things we'd already scheduled to see were, like, God, School of Rock, which was really funny to be, like, 28 going to School of Rock with my, like, 70-year-old dad. But, because it's all, like, 13-year-olds and their parents, and the cast is children as well, which is very fascinating. But point being, Chicago, which was, like, the thing I was most excited to see, we got the tickets at the last minute, because we had to, you know, we're like, we wanted to see a movie, or see a play every night, because that's, you know, that's what we do if we stay in Manhattan. That's the benefit of having rich-ass parents, basically, and so I can accept that. I enjoy being able to appreciate Broadway a little bit, because I would not be able to otherwise. As some people describe, just by virtue of being trans... Fuck. Oh yeah, that's not a quick load, it's a load game. I have to load this save, because I've got help. But anyway. Because, yeah, it's quite wild. Because, like, I keep thinking about this. Of whether or not my family is upper class or lower class. And it's kind of the thing about inherited wealth. It's this bizarre, like, balancing of, like, intersectionality and inherited wealth kind of thing. So, like, my parents... What the hell? My parents didn't inherit that much. Basically, they had the white people American dream kind of narrative, where my but that's only if you tell it in a patriarchal fashion. See, the problem is this: your family tree spirals out into an insane complication if you don't limit it in some fashion, right? So, like, I have 16 hand grenades? Fuck. So, part of the problem is that I only know a lot of the history of my mother's father's side and my father's side. Again, all very patriarchal. My mom knows some about her mother's side, but my dad knows nothing about his mother's side. And so, anyway, point being that it's actually very fascinating, I find, that how information only goes back that far. And I'm curious to see in the future how posterity changes, you know? Like I said, like, I literally don't know my grandmother... I don't know my father's mother's name, or father's name, or her last name off the top of my head, even. You know? So, like, information that's, about a century and a half old. Or not even that. These people were alive in the 50s. You know, this is my father's grandparents, on his mother's side, that he may or may not have known, but they were certainly alive in his lifetime. So, point being, it's interesting. I'm interested to see how data collection changes that. But anyway, so the stories I do know, basically, my great-grandparents were essentially farmers, is the story, and is true. And, but obviously there are other parents I don't know about, as well. And then my grandparents went, my grandparents on my mother's side went to college, and, sort of, were lifelong learners. And it's nothing against, because, like, my great uncle ran his family's farm. Actually, no, he didn't. That's actually the crazy part. The only brother who wanted to become a farmer wanted to run his own farm. So, anyway, things are complicated. And like I said, my great uncle, I didn't know very well, because our lives only crossed over for 14 years or so. So I only met him like once or twice. Oh, right. Hello, you're behind me. Fuck. Oh, that's always how it happens. Fuck. Anyway, I'm sorry that I'm just diatribing about random things. It's actually very helpful. It's making me gameplay better. It's making me gameplay better. So sorry again to offend. Again, as an actor, I literally took classes in, like, how to do accents, and now it's, like, really cringeworthy to think about in some ways. Fortunately, we didn't try to go too far, but still, like, at least it's believable. Fuck you! Yeah, motherfucker! Oh, no, you can break the glass. Ew. But anyway. So it's all just very weird and fascinating. Like, essentially my parents are middle class. But by the time I was growing up, though, when I was a young child, all of my siblings were in college. And because my parents work at USC, not only were they in college, they all got to go to USC for free. So that's, yeah, so I had 4 siblings in college at USC, at one of the, oh god, I forgot to push the fucking button. One of the most, now, it was when I was going to college, one of the most expensive schools in the dang country. Oh no, that's not what I needed to do. Oops, I forgot to push you.
Access granted.
Oh right, and they come attack you immediately. I forgot. These dudes are not that susceptible to the shotgun, actually. Like, honestly, I don't know why I'm doing it this way. It's really stupid. You know what, I don't like to reset when I'm not dead, but sometimes you just fuck up. Sometimes you just fuck up.
Access granted.
Yeah, they're just running right at me. Here I'm coming. Yeah, part of my problem is that, like, there isn't much that, like, really stalls him out too much. Yeah, I haven't figured out how to, like, stun lock him. It's a challenge. Maybe it is NATO's. Grenades, I mean. Hills, that is. Beverly Hills, that is. So anyway, point being that I feel like, even though because of the success my parents had by the time I was growing up, I always felt very upper class. But then hearing people who were raised, like, upper class, like, I still had a very different experience. It's really weird. Basically, that's why I'm postmodernist as well, is because, like, class is what you do, and obviously, it's a much harder, if you're not white, the system is set up for you to fail. It's not even like that it's just harder, it's set up to fail. You know, that's why affirmative action has been so necessary, because literally, like, there have been studies in the 21st century where it's like, to two resumes, someone's looked at two resumes that are almost identical, but a name sounds like one of them is like John Smith, and the other one is like Omar Muhammad, you know, or anything like that, or even, you know, like the white-sounding name is the one who gets the job, and it's not explicit bias. People aren't actively thinking that Omar is less qualified than John. But they don't realize that they're thinking that. They're holding, usually what happens, the way it ends up kind of playing out, is they hold the person of color to a higher standard. Anyway, I'm sorry, as a white person, you know, if you're not white, I'm really telling you very basic things, but if you are white and you don't accept the idea of white privilege, I'm sorry, dear. As they said in Scandal, as Olivia Pope and her father say, they have to work twice as much to get twice as hard to get half as much, and it is true. Just look at Obama versus Trump in public perception for the primest example. The most powerful fucker in the entire country. You know, both of them. Just see that comparison there. Ow. Ah! It's interesting, too. I don't know, the thing about a lot of this is really interesting, like, the history of all this kind of stuff, because, like, the 20th century, the 19th and 20th century, basically, right, it's this, like, big explosion of ways of thinking on things, you know? It's like, there's all this philosophy from the last couple centuries, last 3 or 4 centuries at most, you know, where we really think about things in a lot of different ways, and so it's much harder to know shit. Like, ow. I don't know, it's interesting, especially, like, as a layperson, too. Like, just imagining it, it's very fascinating, although, as much as I have been marketing myself as essentially the wrong answer to reactionaries, which is to basically just kind of do what they do, but with empathetic politics instead. Except I don't get angry. I'm not really, like... Anger's an emotion, you know? I can feel angry about all this stuff, but it's like, the scope is just so wild. You know, like, I'm mad about the prison industrial complex, I'm mad about how, you know, I'm mad about mass incarceration, and I'm mad about other kinds of just profiling, you know what I mean? Like, basically First Nation folks and immigrants get shit on in our fucking country. If you're brown, even if you can trace your lineage for 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 1,000 years, something like that, thousands of years, it's a long history. You know what I mean? And yet you're still discriminated against. It's like, not even just that, it's like they're second-class citizens. They're treated as second-class citizens still. It's fucking ridiculous. More beer! Anyway. It's interesting. So speaking of, like, different perspectives here, that's why I have always been... So I grew up in the 90s, right? I was born in 88, and I grew up in the 90s. So I grew up with, basically, like, neo-hippies were the generation raising me. My parents and my teachers were basically, like, egalitarian, peace and love, acceptance kind of folks. I mean, also, like, being raised in a school where most of the teachers are from different countries helped as well, because obviously, like, that was a concept I was it was very easy to be comfortable with. You know, our principal's from Sri Lanka. My teacher was from the Philippines. Or one of my, some teachers, were from Mexico. And, like, of course, like, both teachers and students, but I went to a fucking private school, so, there we go. And my brother, I think that's part of the reason I have this sort of weird idea about being upper class, because technically it's like I am, or I could be, but I am not. And my parents sort of have moved that way, and that's why my brother resents it a little bit, because he's never experienced that. He's always been working class, basically. And because he chose his mom over our dad, sort of excluded him a little bit from that. But also just like he and I have the most in common as well for that reason. We have the most similar politics. He might fall a little bit on the more libertarian side while I'm a socialist anarchist, but like we advocate for, it's one of those weird things where like when we advocate for the same thing, it's really helpful, like we both want legalized drugs, for example. Basically twofold. One, to treat drug addiction as a health issue and not as a criminal issue, because that's what it is. It is not a criminal justice problem, or, it's not illegal drugs that's the problem. It's people being addicted that's the real issue. That's really what's fucking people up and putting people in jail for that. Basically using drugs as an excuse to put people of color in jail, mostly black men, as they're so overrepresented. And we are the country with the most prisoners, so free, aren't we? Land of the free, indeed. And I say this living in California, which is, I believe, last in education, first in prisons. So, I say this coming from one of the worst. Like, California is the bastion of neoliberalism, I would say. And I would say, but in its totally, like, post-60s imagined glory. All the positives and negatives. 100%. Oh, no! And that's sort of like what it seems like the values people sort of embody who've grown up here. Because, like, it's gotten to the point that I even have coined it myself. This is stupid, because I'm sure that there's already this term. But recently I call it California conservative. Because the most conservative people I know who, like, do say a lot of the same things that really right-wingers say, are libertarian. Like, they would not vote Republican, or if they do, they would not vote for Trump. Despite, basically because they're not white, actually. Honestly, I just realized that's really the reason. It's like, it's not the best time to be gauging that, because when conservative is supporting fascism, and liberal is just, like, accepting reality, it's a weird dichotomy to have to choose between, right? Like, would you rather have a comfortable lie, or to actually, like, fix the problems of the world? And a lot of white people chose white supremacy, which is a comfortable lie for them. I suppose some people like to be told that they're the best, that they're number one, that they're the top dog, big dog, they're little special snowflakes, as my generation is often called. But instead, it's not individually. It's individually putting your identity into your concepts of like race and culture, and then so you get all these weird concepts that, like, where people are connecting to pieces of the past that would not connect here, like connecting the West, quote unquote, big air quotes there, to ancient Greece is so crazy. Like it's ridiculous. It's just fucking funny. Like, it was not, like, that concept is just so bunkus. It's bunkus. And same with the concept of like, white identity politics. It's so fucking stupid. And I like to point out, as somebody who has a layperson's knowledge of biology, adaptability is really what matters, not, like, whatever we perceive of as, like, strength. Surviving is like, surviving as a species is the strength. Survival of the fittest. Fittest does not mean strongest. Fit means fit to their environment. And we are adapting the environment, but it's not good for us. We have adapted a lot of the environment, and it has fucked us up. Even places that widely benefit from lax environmental policies and pollution are wising up. Even China's fucking wising up a little bit. Because, yeah. And of course, I agree with the assessment, like, we can't... I don't know. It's all just so frustrating. Because... it's just all so frustrating, you know? It just really sucks. It's just all really shitty. And, like, I don't want to feel so cynical that, like, genocide and persecution are inevitable because they have lasted throughout human history, but I did make the claim yesterday, when I was talking to my friend, that, I wouldn't be surprised if it lasted as long into the future as human history. So, like I kind of have to concede, like, we don't know. Basically, only having one sentient species means that, like, we don't know what's fundamental to being. We don't know what is really the fundamental point of life. We know what's fundamental to Earth life, but we haven't found a counterpoint to really compare it to. You know, we haven't really found that, we haven't really found it. We don't have it, as far as we know. And it might even be possible that, well, because it would be great to find life in our solar system, because what if life from other solar systems have different kinds of requirements? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's just all very, very fascinating to me. So basically what I'm saying is we don't know, sociologically either, what's fundamental to being human, because we only have what it means. We only have every fact about being human. We have no idea what is excluded. We can't imagine, possibly, what, we can't imagine it. I can't. I guess some people do, because they dehumanize other people, but, if you can accept the reality of genetics, then you have to accept that there's actually no real genetic difference between people. Science, by science's consideration, skin color is basically just the result of some genes. You know what I mean? Phrenology is debunked. You know, I don't even want to say the name of the most popular phrenologist du jour, because he's overexposed, to be honest. He's way overexposed for the kind of shit he's saying. Like, this motherfucker is selling 19th century post-Darwin pseudoscience as 21st century philosophy. It's fucking crazy. Fuck Stefan Molyneux. Okay, I said it, but fuck him.
Warning. Chamber
It's the
malfunction.
worst. And anybody who talks about skull shape or skull size is fucking racist, and you have no choice but to accept that, you fucking racists, because skull shape and skull size has nothing to do with intelligence. You fucking assholes, you lying pieces of shit. And he is a liar. He's not a fucking, he's not just, like, he lies. He's a fucking liar. Okay? He spreads misinformation about history all the time. Anyway. I had to get that off my chest, because we live in a garbage world with garbage people. Who think that they can appeal, they can try to create. Whew, ha, cool, very good, I like it. It's all shitty. Again, because basically, to my fellow white people, if you're working class, people of color are your allies. They're not your enemy. No one is taking away your job. Remember, the person who's choosing who to hire in the first place. Like, I don't understand why business people aren't held accountable for the choices that they make. You know, it sucks. The system we're in is horrible. We have, basically, corporations are very socialistic. They rely on the government so much. It's so fucked up, because, like, people are literally dying because they can't afford to go to the doctor, while our good friends over at Goldman Sachs got bailed out. Some of the worst people of my lifetime, actually. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Fuck. I say that, like, not to elicit certain kinds of comparisons, but just to acknowledge the impact that they've had. You know? The housing market, we've never recovered. Capitalists were given a buy. They were told they can do whatever they want. And so that's what they're doing. Exactly whatever they want. And we all suffer. Because I shouldn't say our, because as I described, not necessarily. Like, maybe in a perfect evolution I would get the guillotine. I don't fucking know. Who fucking knows, you know? Anything can fucking happen. That's why I advocate for much more empathetic solutions. Because the people in power need to have empathy for the people who without. And that value is very important to me. I don't know about this.
Select teleport destination.
Had had 3 storage.
3 selected.
Still kudos to that, because it's still very awesome. Cool. Oh, okay. I see. I get it. So, it's like the teleporters in the Star Treks, where it's like, in the original, it's much easier, or not even in the original, but in, even Next Gen, like, you have to use a transporter pad to send shit out. Oh, good. Yeah, and then this is the hallway one, so I don't think I need to transfer to there anytime soon. But that's what that box is, it's shells. Well... I killed him. Alright. Come on. Hey, come on. I only have 1 hit point. Like, I can't get hurt at all. Hello, friend. Oh no! The door closed! Why? Oh no! You're kidding me. This is hilarious. Uh-oh. Where are they? Uh-oh. Okay, good. They're just imps. They're not, remnants. They're not Rocket Skull Face Boy. I think my name, while longer and clunkier, is ultimately more fun. Oh! There it was! Whew! Alright. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful evening and sleep well, drink water, and, have a good night.